Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Chimpanzees have 24. That difference should not exist, because human chromosome 2 looks like two ape chromosomes, fused into one. In the middle, there are telomere remnants, where they shouldn't be. 2 centromeres. One active, one disabled. It looks like an edit, but evolution doesn't work like a clean cut. It's slow, random, imperfect. So the question is simple. Who made that change? For over 150 years, scientists have searched for a clear transition between apes and humans. We've found Australopithecus, Homo erectus, Neanderthals, Denisovans, but not the exact link between ape and human. Instead, there's a gap. And then, suddenly, Homo sapiens, a species with a brain that tripled in size in a very short time, from about 400 grams to over 1,300. That's extremely fast for evolution. Scientists suggest tools, fire, diet, but the timeline doesn't fit. Tools appeared earlier. Fire came later. So what caused the jump? There's no clear answer. Now consider this. Humans have genetic elements not found in other primates. Many are linked to speech, thinking, awareness. Evolution usually changes small pieces of DNA, one letter at a time. But here, it looks like larger blocks, almost like information added. Then there's mitochondrial DNA. All humans trace back to a single maternal line around 200,000 years ago. But what matters more is how similar we all are. Our genetic diversity is unusually low. That suggests a population bottleneck. In fact, two. One about 75,000 years ago, linked to a volcanic eruption. The other around 200,000 years ago. No known catastrophe. No clear explanation. Yet the population dropped dramatically. Why? Now go back to chromosome 2. For such a mutation to spread, it requires rare conditions. A small, isolated group. Limited reproduction. Long separation. In open environments, that's unlikely. The probability is extremely low. And this is where ancient records become interesting. Sumerian texts describe beings who came from the sky. They say humans were created by mixing earthly material with something else. They describe a process, not creation from nothing, but modification. They mention 14 individuals, 7 male, 7 female, enough to sustain a population, thousands of years before genetics. And similar ideas appear in different cultures. Beings descending, changing humans, teaching knowledge, agriculture, astronomy, metalworking, not gods creating life, but something interacting with it. Modern science confirms something important. Humans interbred with other species. Neanderthals, Denisovans. We carry their DNA. There was even a direct hybrid discovered. A child with a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father. So interaction did happen. More than once. Now look at physical findings. Artifacts that seem too advanced. Objects that shouldn't exist for their time. Some are studied. Some are dismissed. Some disappear. Individually, each case has an explanation. But together, they raise questions. Now return to DNA. For years, most of it was called junk. Today we know it's not. Controls gene activity, development, function. But some sequences behave strangely. They appear in unrelated species. Same code, different purpose. That's hard to explain through normal evolution. And then there's another point. Some regions in human DNA are unusually consistent across all populations, more stable than expected. And some of them are linked to brain development, which leads to a deeper question. Are we using all of our biological potential, or only part of it? And if limits exist, are they natural, or simply not yet understood? This is where interpretation begins. One view says, evolution explains everything, We just don't know all the details yet. Another view says, some patterns look too structured, too sudden, too precise. The truth is, we don't fully know, and that uncertainty creates theories. It's easy to connect ancient texts, genetic anomalies, and missing evidence into one story, a story about intervention, about design, about control. But there's an important line. A question is not proof. Pattern is not confirmation. Still, the questions remain. Why did human intelligence grow so fast? Why do some genetic structures behave unexpectedly? Why do ancient cultures describe similar ideas? Science is still working on the answers, and that's normal. The Human Genome Project showed us something important. We don't fully understand our own DNA, not because it's hidden, but because it's complex. What once looked like junk turned out to have a function, and what we don't understand today may become clear tomorrow. That's how knowledge grows, step by step. And that leads to the most important point. No matter how we originated, we are here. We think, we create, we question, we build science, art, technology. We study ourselves. And that is remarkable. Maybe the real turning point isn't our origin, but our future. Because now, we are learning to change our own biology, to edit genes, to influence evolution, to shape what comes next. That is not theory. That is reality. So the real question is not, were we created? But, what will we become? What limits will we break? What responsibilities will we carry? And how far are we willing to go? You can ignore these questions, or you can explore them, not by blindly believing, but by thinking, comparing, testing. Because real knowledge doesn't come from belief. It comes from understanding. And one thing is certain. We are only at the beginning of understanding ourselves, of understanding life, of understanding intelligence. And whatever the truth turns out to be, it won't make us less. It will show how much more we can become.